Hey, Nicole Huntsman here, your astrologer from moderncosmic.com. Got your weekly forecast. Got my coffee because I've been doing so many readings that I am exhausted. It's been fantastic, but thank you to all my friends from YouTube. I have had the opportunity to read for people from all over the world lately, and of course throughout the United States. It's been really fun, but I've been so busy with 4 to 5 readings per day, so that's a lot of talking in a day, and thus I like to have my coffee, especially on a Sunday night after a day of readings. So, okay, you guys who have experienced Mercury retrograde have been paying attention to it. I hope that your week has been better than mine. Here I am, the astrologer. I'm always the one that's like getting injured or, losing files on my computer after I tell everybody to upload everything and download everything and save everything. And yet I'm not even using my iCloud and I lose my entire astrology folder down the garbage trash heap. So, at any rate, and then my computer this morning completely froze up on me. Last night it would not upload videos, like truly all night. I woke up at 3 a.m. to check on things, and it had, after trying to load something several times, it had crapped out again. And anyway, so thank you, Mercury retrograde, for making my life interesting. Appreciate that. Hopefully you guys are having less of a bungle than I am. Kate, this week, we've got a week, I'm kind of considering this sort of an impotent week in a sense, because we've got all of these sort of planets that are there in Capricorn, Sun, Pluto, Mercury, and Mercury's retrograde. Then we got Jupiter that's in Virgo, and Jupiter's retrograde. It's kind of like a little bit of a holding pattern right now. Then we do have some interesting things happening with our Venus, which is in Sagittarius, which will be squaring Jupiter and squaring the North Node this week, and our Mars, which is in Scorpio, which is really intense, but it's like making aspects to Neptune, which is really fuzzy and romantic. And this next weekend is a great weekend to get away with a lover or to work on if you've got a creative project that you want to work on by yourself. It's a fantastic week for that, or do both. I don't know, get crazy with it. But we'll jump into the forecast. If you have questions, let me know. I'm going to keep this forecast shorter, try to keep it to about 30 minutes. We're focusing just on the aspects each day that are exact, and I'm going to try and make it a little more applicable to your life. So let me know if you like this new format, or if you don't. And I'm here to create whatever it is you want me to create, so I don't take any of it personal. Okay, all right, on with the forecast. Starting with Monday, January 11th. All right, on Monday we've got, I'm going to just be reading my notes while we do this because it's just how we do. Okay, we've got our moon in Aquarius on Monday. Let's talk about this first. So of course, we've got our sun is in Capricorn. Moon in Aquarius is a time where there is sort of a progressive feel with moon in Aquarius. There's this desire to be a little bit free from constraints and from rules. We can feel a little restless, especially if you're a fixed sign. So if you're Taurus, you're Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, especially, sun, but also if you know your moon or your personal planets, those qualify as well. Look at what the particular planet or angle is. Like I have a Leo ascendant, and so moon in Aquarius for me, and also my progress chart, I have a Scorpio sun and Leo moon. So I really get hit by these moons when they move into fixed signs. It's kind of those days where I feel a little like a little off or agitated or restless with Aquarius. Might be how you might feel with this. Okay. Also, the moon will be sextiling Saturn. So that moon is in Aquarius. It will sextile Saturn in Sagittarius. It's a nice time for kind of some reflection, quiet reflection, okay? But also focus it on questing for some sort of truth, okay? It's a good time to be reading. It's a good time to sort of take time out of your day to think about, make note of the things that have meaning for you. It's a good time to innovate, if you want to sit down and make some plans about a creative project you have that requires a bit of wonky thinking or being a little eccentric with your thinking. It's a good time for that. Our Mercury is in Capricorn. It's retrograde right now. It will be making a semi-square to Saturn in Sagittarius. So this could be a little bit of rule makers and rule breakers having a bit of a disagreement. I guess that's like every day, right? But in particular in your life, if you're sort of feeling the desire to, again, with that moon Saturn sextile that we have combined with this Mercury Saturn semi-square, it's kind of a time to be reflective. It's a time to take time to stop talking. Okay, so it's like quiet yourself. That's that Mercury in Capricorn. Although the Capricorn part is pretty much, it enjoys planning. It enjoys, putting together some sort of organized, cohesive thoughts, putting them down on paper, I suppose. But it is Mercury retrograde. So this is being reflective, reflecting on the things that you've done in the past, this past few months that have worked, those things that haven't worked. And then with the semi-square to Sagittarius, that Saturn in Sagittarius, this is those personal philosophies. This is those rules that we've put in place for our life that have worked and maybe aren't working anymore. So it's kind of like looking at all of these things and quietly deciding where we sit. So it could be a little bit of a quiet day or an introspective day. It's funny because Moon in Aquarius is inherently very social and it appreciates a lot of contact with other people. But with Saturn being the traditional ruler of Aquarius, perhaps that is more of a either private one-on-one contact or just pulling away from that social contact at all and spending some time alone. Jupiter is in Virgo conjunct the North Node this whole week. So these are themes of the North Node. The nodal axis has to do with relationships, not just between people, but it's between one thing and another thing, between opposites, okay, in a sense. And so perhaps with this Virgo, this Jupiter Virgo that's retrograding and conjoining with that North Node, there's sort of this idea of reviewing the things that we have, the plans we place in our life, the analysis. Actually, what I kind of feel like this will be is a time where we are analyzing our relationships and the future of our relationships, looking at how things have gone in the past and then sort of analyzing, what are the practical steps that I need to take to continue to grow this relationship in the direction that I would like it to move into? Now, of course, if you're someone who has North Node, or not North Node, sorry, rather, if you've got strong mutable in your chart around 20 to 25 degrees, then you're going to be someone who is either you're being aspected by this, either by conjunction, by square, by opposition. So it's going to really stand out for you in your life. Look at what it hits. For me, it hits Mercury. I've been writing a bunch lately. It makes sense, right? I've been sort of re-examining my philosophies. That's Jupiter. I've been analyzing things I've written. I've been editing things I've written already, revisiting them, rewriting them, just rethinking, reading other people's takes on philosophies that I have. It's kind of and so it's my relationship to the world around me, my worldview, because it's my Mercury. Okay, it's different than if it was your Venus. That would be your love life. If it was your Sun, it would be your identity. Okay, so you really need to look at how it aspects your chart. But overall in the world, there are these themes of looking at relationship, looking at is this a benefic relationship? This is also with world leaders. This is world leaders coming together with counselors, with those people who have the ability to analyze things, the analysts, and to give them constructive feedback about the decisions that they've been making, how they can sort of change course and change path to be more successful down the road. I feel like it's going to be a little bit quieter right now, like Donald Trump, for example. With Jupiter and Virgo, which is a mutable sign, retrograde, I feel like he's kind of, I have no political sway either way, but I would say Donald Trump, I think most people would say he's full of a lot of air, a lot of words, okay? Hot air, some might say. Others might say he's saying the things that, everybody would like to say but are afraid to say. Whatever your take is on Donald. Either way, he talks a lot and he talks just spontaneously off the top of his head. Jupiter in Virgo is... Jupiter's not super stoked about being in Virgo, first of all. So Jupiter's expansive. Virgo is about little details. And so it doesn't work very well. To me, it makes me think of Jupiter as the guide, as the analyst, as the person who's critiquing something in order to improve something, to improve a system. We're looking at the things that are kind of broken and we're straightening them out to fix them. When we're in a little retrograde, it means some little mistakes have perhaps been made. Like when I think of Donald, some little mistakes have been made. How are we going to fix these things? And it squares his Sun Moon in his chart. So, his ego might be taking a little bit of a battering, although he's probably not going to let you know that. But it is a little bit of like, okay, we need to readjust a few things here. His advisors probably are telling him as much. And other, I always talk about Donald just because he's interesting. I mean, he's like so loud and bombastic, you can't miss him. But overall in the world stage, especially anyone who has strong mutable in their chart, whether it's a country or person, they'll be really affected by this reevaluation and this little bit of a humbling process. Okay. Also, we've got Uranus, which has been in Aries, of course, squaring Pluto in Capricorn, which we've had for forever it seems like. It's at a 1 degree. They have a 1 degree square. It's separating because, of course, Uranus is now moving direct, so it's moving into larger digits, larger numbers, and so it's moving out of being it wasn't actually an exact square this last pass, but you know what I'm saying, it's moving away from that square with Pluto. Still, it's a time where it is a bit unstable. Things are somewhat up in the air. That Pluto is opposite the United States sun, so this is definitely a period of time that's quite revolutionary for our country. You've got interesting things happening, like you've got the Bundy brothers in Oregon, which is my home state, who have decided to, commandeer a wildlife refuge because it's a national building, yes. It's just funny that that's what they chose to sort of commandeer in the middle of nowhere. But at any rate, if this was, I am of the opinion, if they were of another race other than Caucasian, I don't care the race, just something or just from another country, and they did this, we would not be seeing the current sort of unfolding of events with the strategy, this sort of just the standoff and just letting them kind of be hungry for snacks and like starving them out or whatever it is that the current strategy is. I don't think that would have happened. I think we would have been in there in a heartbeat if it was someone of another race or of another from another country, so other than a white person. White American. And that to me has to do with the the North Node, that Jupiter Virgo is a little bit more conservative, a little more, like I said, modest, economical in its approach to things, and conjunct the North Node. I don't know if that's making a difference there, or if it's just, maybe it's not even related to astrology. It's just part of the mindset. It could actually be that Jupiter that's in our sky, that's in Virgo, that's conjoining the national Neptune, I believe, which I believe is in Virgo. So it could be that we're it's that the national dream. What does it mean to be an American? Our freedoms. This whole idea of the militia, which is very Uranus square Pluto, and fighting for our freedoms, etc., etc. So, or begging for snacks. I don't know. Speak your mind, men. At any rate. Okay, let's move on to Tuesday the 12th. Tuesday the 12th, we've got that moon in Aquarius still, so progress, rebellion, free thinking, newness, the unexpected, all of these things fall under the purview of Aquarius. Of course, though, the sun is in Capricorn, which is quite conservative and quite the opposite. Aquarius is like the teenager, and Capricorn is like the strict father. Okay, so they're very different from one another. And then that Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So that's kind of what gives it its power or informs it. That Saturn is in Sagittarius, and that Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is retrograde. So it's kind of like it's a little bit out of gas. It's not as strong and powerful as it could be. And we do have a current Mars in Scorpio, which on Monday would have been being aspected by the moon, I believe, if I'm remembering my degrees correctly. Would have been being squared by the moon. So there could have been some reactivity on Monday. There could be, heated debate of some kind, but it's sort of like everything is impotent. It's like all bark and no bite, lacking sort of the real potent hit that we had. Like back when we were like in November and December, we had some aspects that were being they're being directly fueled by signs, zodiac signs that were a little more powerful. So on Tuesday, we've got not a whole lot happening on Tuesday. Okay, the moon is in Aquarius, so you got to keep that in mind. And we, of course, have the ongoing Uranus Pluto T-square, or not T-square, but square. We've got everything that I talked about on Monday as far as the outer planets go. Okay, so like the North Node and whatnot. So Venus is in Sagittarius, right? And it's trining Uranus in Aries. This to me is a few things. When I think of Venus in Sagittarius, lately I made a playlist for just to listen to while I'm reading and writing that I love, and it's just sounds of nature. So it's, your typical birds and the trees and the rain and the la la la. But also it sounds from, so I didn't grow up on a farm, but I grew up showing horses, and so spent a lot of time at a farm. Like most of from the time I was a teenager till I, went off to college, I was at a barn somewhere and around different animals. And so anyway, this is very Venus and Sagittarius. It's this love of animals. It's this love of nature. This love of sort of a simple life, authenticity, being truthful. And so Venus and Sagittarius makes me think of this, but it also makes me think of this love of philosophy, existential meaning, grand ideas, the big picture, all this stuff. It's trining Uranus right now in Aries. So these philosophies about this love of nature, this love. In fact, the Bundys make me think of like Sagittarius. That's very Venus Sagittarius. Okay, it's like appreciating the simple life, appreciating living off of the land, and being someone who is speaking your personal truth, and you're very straightforward and somewhat honest in your, although perhaps a little what's the word? Naive in your assessments of things. But anyway, so that Venus is trining Uranus, and so there's some philosophies here about the love of freedom that we might hear about on Tuesday. Also, it's a really nice time to surprise a lover with an exciting trip or an adventure. So if you have someone that you're wanting to take somewhere, and I suggest you do it this next weekend because it's going to be a really fun weekend for that. It's a great time to surprise them and to let them know, hey, I want to take you away this next weekend for a little quiet, like private R&R. So Tuesday is a good day to make that announcement. Okay, but let's move on to Wednesday. Wednesday and Thursday are sort of our more busy days, or more things happening. All right. Okay, Wednesday, we've got the moon moving into Pisces. That Pisces moon is, of course, we've got this intuitive, imaginative, romantic moon. This is a time you might notice like this increase in your creative impulse. It's kind of soulful and this spiritual merge, with others, and can be a time that can be a little reflective. And this is all the high side. On the low side, lower functioning, or like shadow side, it can be kind of a confusing time or a fuzzy time. And for some people, it does make some interesting aspects to the sun, and the sun's doing some stuff with Neptune. It can be a time for escape even, okay? So the sun is, first of all, Sun in Capricorn will trine Jupiter in Virgo. To me, on the world stage, this is a time when leaders and advisors are just revisiting plans. There's an element, like I said, of holding back, of sort of an impotency. It's a good time for reevaluating laws and sort of looking at decisions that have been made, looking at strategies to see what has worked, what hasn't worked. A good time to sort of look at last year. Although I think most organizations that are large, like a corporation or a government, they've sort of already done that, but they don't. They didn't have all the numbers through the end of December. They didn't have those until now. And so it feels to me like this would be a good time to sort of review that information and then move forward. We will be seeing a lot of big things happening in our nation and in the world relative to the economy and the stock markets, all the different stock exchanges that exist, and especially those that directly affect the United States. Like I've said, this next 30 years is going to be one that is highly transformative of our economic system here in the U.S. You better be prepared for much simpler living. I think people are going to be getting rid of their big mortgages, and I mean, not everybody, but I think far more people will out of necessity. I think it's going to be a time where we live much more simply. There are some suggestions with Uranus, some of the transits that are happening in the next few years, that perhaps there would be some unexpected events that will require us to survive on a much simpler level. So it's good to be prepared for that. So maybe it's a good time to review your year, look at your budget, and time to set aside money, and that type of thing. It's anytime you get Virgo strongly underscored in the sky, it's a time for economy, being frugal and being wise with your being penny wise. Well, saying penny wise, pound foolish. But really being penny wise and pound wise, like saving your money. This is a good time for all of that. Okay, let's see. We've also got Sun in Capricorn, of course. It's semi-square Neptune. So this is a time, this is what I was saying about addictions. Addictions could be triggered. Time, whether, I don't care what kind of addiction. If you've got Sun, Mars, Venus, even the Moon, 13 to 17 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, or if you've got like a midpoint, Sun, Moon midpoint there, it's a time where you might desire some sort of escape. Now, on the high side, this could be escape through art, music, culture, spirituality, meditation, etc. Okay, on the low side it could be booze, pot, I don't know, whatever, sex, pornography, blah 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 blah, anything, movies, just sitting and watching TV and eating a bag of Cheetos, food, all of these things. So try to use this energy in a positive way where it's spiritual or creative and somewhat productive. Take advantage of that Capricorn sun, which wants to be productive. That is, you can harness that a little bit, and the Virgo that's in the sky. Moon in Pisces it is semi-square Mercury, so this is a nice time. It's very gentle. We've got a Mercury that's in Capricorn, which is an earth sign, which is productive. It likes to be productive, but that moon in Pisces is quite sweet. A semi-square to Mercury, maybe it's a good night for using gentle words, perhaps some creative writing, something sort of productive, the productive use of that sort of energy. If you're a mutable sign or if you are a cardinal sign, you guys will be especially affected by this. Remember that Mercury is retrograde, so it's more of a reflective time. I like this day for, at the end of the day, just some nice gentle words, creative writing, listening to some good music, maybe a nice massage, and even spending time by yourself. It's just a nice quiet time. It's a nice quiet evening. That's the best way to spend this energy. Moon in Pisces can be, like I said, a little fuzzy and disassociated from the body. So it's a nice time to sort of get back into the body through the hands, which is Mercury and Capricorn. Mercury's hands, Capricorn's earth, so it makes you think of the physical body. And so maybe, like I said, exercising some sort of creative process would be really nice on Wednesday night. Moon in Pisces is trying that Mars in Scorpio. So, Mars in Scorpio is a very strong Mars, a very pure, potent Mars, very masculine. There might be this really strong reactive desire to merge, to blend, to possess, to violate boundaries in a sense. It's definitely an emotionally fecund time for lovemaking or for the creative process, art creation, or sublimation of your libido or libidinous desire into some productive project that you've wanted to work on, whether that's like through work or whether it's something creative just for fun, like a pet project. Those would be highly supported by what's going on on Wednesday night, or Wednesday in the day as well. Now, lies of omission might also come to the surface during this transit, okay? Saturn or Scorpio, Mars makes things appear. I mean, we had, obviously, last week we had the North Korean testing of a nuclear bomb, and that's very Mars Scorpio. That's like perfect example. Scorpio, Pluto rules nuclear weapons, so Mars is using something, so it's not surprising that happened this past week. So in your personal life, let's do this in a positive way. Instead of exercising your military might, instead, maybe in your personal life, experience going deep with a partner, experience some intimacy with someone, even by yourself, experience intimacy through the arts, through a flow process like art making, or some sort of listening to music or dancing, or these types of things that are accessing the unconscious world and the emotions through a process that has a little bit of a libidinous sublimation happening to it, or the actual use of your libido. That's fine as well. We also got Venus and Sagittarius trining that Uranus and Aries. So this is a desire, first of all, if you're just looking at the Sagittarius-Aries combo, this to me feels like this desire to be in the pleasures of nature, to be free of the city, to be free of the confines of the city or modern living. There could be, with all of this Pisces, Neptune stuff, this desire to kind of escape and get away. And then this weekend, you're going to go on your romantic trip somewhere. So hopefully I listened to my advice on this better than I listened to my advice on like Mercury retrograde and I need to get away this weekend. Let's see what else. Venus Sagittarius is also squaring Chiron and Pisces, which is, remember, Chiron is the wound or the wounded healer. This is also this idea of returning to nature to heal the wound. There could be a little bit of a wound of loneliness and isolation, separation. So it's sort of returning to the fount of the living waters to feel reborn and that you belong, that you're part of this wonderful ecosystem that we are literally a part of, that we forget that we are made of the stuff of nature, that we belong in nature, we are a part of nature. We are not separate from nature. We just choose to separate ourselves from nature. So returning there can be very healing. So that's here. So if you get a chance to be outside or a chance to somehow enjoy it's even, Venus in Sagittarius is also philosophy. It's also this idea of helping someone, giving someone some kind words, some words of advice, teaching someone something. So you have opportunities as well to operate that Venus in Sagittarius in those ways. Sagittarius is really authentic and genuine. So remember, it's speaking your truth, but doing it in a way that's kind and harmonious and gentle with the purpose of helping heal someone's wound. It's a good time to be, if you have someone coming to you for advice, or if you yourself feel lonely, you need to reach out to someone. It's a good time to do that. Okay. All right, on to Thursday. Thursday, January 14th. This day is one I mentioned last week on last week's forecast. I had mentioned the 13th or 14th. I think the 13th, 14th, 15th, something like that. The 14th for sure were days where we would see Saudi Arabia kind of popping up into the news. And I hadn't looked completely at the entire ephemeris. I just looked at a few things, and to me it sort of was looking like something was going to be coming to light. Now, I have noticed this past weekend, in fact today, I think Saudi Arabia has made some statements about Iran, of course after the whole Iran cleric incident. They have been defending their position. They've been defending the fact that they executed this cleric, and they have been calling Iran to the carpet, so to speak, and demanding that Iran stop affiliating with terrorists, which is very ironic. I think that Saudi Arabia definitely has a history of associating with Sunni terrorists, so I think it's on both sides, perhaps. I'm not really here to judge. I guess I don't know enough to judge, but that's been from what I've read. So I think Thursday we may see a little more in the news. I mean, we've got this moon in Pisces, which is, again, that romantic, imaginative, sort of spacey moon. And the moon, remember, it kind of gives the climate, it gives the overall kind of feel. And if you're someone who is, if you're like an air sign, let's say you're like a Libra, okay? Like a Libra, you're going to be quincunxing the moon. You might not feel it as much as if you're a mutable sign. So if you're a mutable sign, or if in your solar return chart you have a lot of mutable signs, so Gemini, poor Geminis, you guys are getting it this year a lot. Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces, you guys are going to really feel especially kind of spacey or a little fuzzy, or this desire to be creative or spiritual, or this desire to reach out to people that you haven't talked to in a while. That's kind of a North Node thing, especially Jupiter retrograde. This desire to connect and to blend with others could be pretty strong on Thursday. But that Sun in Capricorn that's sextiling the moon in Pisces, this can be sort of a confusing time. We might see some themes of leadership, sort of softening positions of aggression to sort of more peaceful positions of diplomacy. At the same time, we might see a little bit of misleading information coming out, because we've got this Mercury in retrograde, which is communication and words and the news. It's moving, it's retrograde, it's in Capricorn, so it's news about governments, and it's news about corporations and the orderly structures that keep our country or our world kind of operating, whether it's shim-sham or however it's operating. Sometimes it's operating well, sometimes it's not operating so well. Mercury retrograde is a time where, ruled by Saturn in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter in Virgo, which is retrograde also, and that brings us back to that Mercury in retrograde. So we've got these retrograde planets that are fueling everything, you see? So the sun is really kind of impotent. It's being fueled by a Mercury retrograde and a Jupiter retrograde. And so they're kind of like stepping back rather than taking action. So I think what we're going to see happen, I think Saudi Arabia, I do have a feeling that this week somebody is going to come forth, or there'll be some information that comes out that shows that Saudi Arabia has not been forthright in perhaps their claims, okay, relative to Iran and their interests with terrorist groups and things like that. So I don't know exactly what it will be, but I do have a sense that something is going to be in the news with Saudi Arabia on Thursday in particular, but could be Wednesday, it could be Friday. Now, Sun is also conjunct that Mercury retrograde that happens on Thursday. So that is when I was saying this idea of the military or these communications that have been perhaps hidden, maybe being brought to light. I mean, if anything's going to bring something to light, it's going to be due to Pluto or due to something in Scorpio, like on Mars and Scorpio. But those aren't really making any aspects to the sun. So to me, it almost feels like this just a day of fuzzy communications, of like misleading communication, of lying even perhaps. It could just be more news from Saudi Arabia of denying things, so I don't necessarily know that something's going to be for sure brought to the forefront, like to light, but it is these issues of someone's going to be lying, and I think someone's going to say you're lying to Saudi Arabia, the government and leaders in the government, or even just part of their royal family and or corporate leaders, people, I don't know, people, powerful individuals who are Saudi. Okay. Now the sun in Capricorn is trine the North Node, and that's in Virgo. That is, these are our world partnerships. Okay, Sun rather, coming to trine that suggests it's being brought to light, and Jupiter is conjoining that North Node. So this is these it's the sun, Jupiter kind of benefic joining, so diplomatic ties being forged and announced on Thursday. And I think Saudi Arabia, like I said, I think it's going to be in the news. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Saudi Arabia, somebody, talking about their ties with Saudi Arabia or something involving that world partnership, and this also things being slightly misconstrued or misrepresented. Okay, Moon in Pisces is sextile the Mercury retrograde, which is in Capricorn. So this is like can be diluted thinking, missing important details about the plan. So be sure that you reread your edit before you hit the enter button, before you send a text or an email. Once again, I need to listen to my own advice because I always send funny typos. That's not even using the speak to text. It's just I'm not good at editing. So just, if it's an important letter, email, message, I don't know, social media post, just make sure that you reread it before you hit send. Mercury retrograde Capricorn also has to do with, Capricorn is earth, it's physical things, and it's machines not working. So if you have issues with, your actual hardware on your computer breaking, because we started in Aquarius, so that was software, that's like the internet, social media, that's the actual, the consciousness of the machine, I guess you could call it. And then Capricorn would be the machine itself, hard drives not working, the actual mechanical, not operating system, the mechanical systems of the machines breaking down on you. So pay attention to that. So we've got that Mercury retrograde, so it's trine Jupiter, that Jupiter in Virgo. And it's probably I feel like it's our most Mercury retrograde day. It's a day of unfortunate losses and overwrites of things like what I did with my computer, or dropping your computer, dropping your phone and breaking it, just kind of shoot, just overdoing something, and you injuring your machine. Okay, Mercury retrograde also is trine the North Node. So this is miscommunications between you and others. It's also miscommunications on the world stage. That's why I was saying this is Saudi Arabia. I mentioned them because I know they're a Capricorn country. We are a Cancer country, and this is kind of opposing. So it's a little bit wide actually, but sort of somewhat opposing our country. I think it actually opposes our Mercury, which I think is in Cancer as well, at 22 degrees. Anyway, so just things being sent to the wrong inbox, or things that are misunderstanding what was said, or just be sure you're very clear in your communications. Do your best to be clear in your communications, or just wait until Thursday's over. There's that too. And then finally, we've got that Venus, Sagittarius Venus, that's squaring Chiron as well, that we talked about already. So that is, again, those wounds that have been inflicted. I didn't mention this can also be wounds that have been inflicted to the earth, so environmental issues could come up on Thursday a bit. And healing damage to relationships that have been due to sort of second-guessing each other, or over-speaking, or over-criticizing, like thinking you're helping by offering a bit of critique, but really it wasn't welcomed, and it hurt the relationship rather than helped it. Okay? All right, on to Friday. Friday, January 15th, our moon moves into Aries, and this is our reactive, competitive, spontaneous, very aggressive and energized moon, okay? On Friday, it's not quite within orb yet to square the sun, but it will be on Saturday, which can be a little bit of clashes. Again, because this is ruled by this Scorpio Mars, though, that doesn't really, it's not really making any big significant aspects. It's kind of like all bark and no bite on Friday, at least. It can be a little impotent. Especially the moon will be trining the Sagittarius Saturn, and that rules our sun. And it's just all sort of like, I don't know. I just feel like this right now, it's kind of boring for me to do the forecast because it feels like there's not a whole lot that's too exciting happening. Not that I wish for terrible events to be happening, but it's just on the world stage, it feels like things are in a little bit of a holding pattern right now, or in a rebuilding pattern, or it's not rebuilding, it's like well, it is a little bit rebuilding. It's re-examining, it's looking at things and adjusting strategy, okay? Mercury retrograde in Capricorn is also trine Jupiter in Virgo, and again, this is that same, it's this unfortunate losses and overwrites. It's separating though on Friday, I believe. So you're somewhat sort of, I mean, it's still Mercury retrograde, but at least it's moving away from a trine with Jupiter, which is like really big Mercury retrograde events. Like, oh crap, I just deleted my entire astrology folder. Don't do that. Okay, so let's move on to Saturday and Sunday. As far as exact aspects on Saturday, the 16th, mainly we just have, finally our Mars is being activated. So this is important because moon in Aries, that reactive, competitive, aggressive moon that is, can be a little bit dangerous, is ruled by Mars. And Mars is in Scorpio, so that's a very strong Mars. And that Mars takes a trine to Pisces, the Piscean, Neptune. So Mars trine Neptune, this is why I'm saying this is such a great weekend for like a romantic trip with your lover, because it's a time to escape the world, just the two of you, just secret away to some place where you can just enjoy each other, and just, it's also a great time to reflect on spirit, existential meaning, things that really matter to you. It's a really good time for creative flow. The moon in Aries can be a little impatient, but this is definitely a moon that has a little more bite. Just sublimate it into healthy things like lovemaking, or listening to music, or creating music or art, or whatever it is for you. If you own a business, if you're an entrepreneur and you are coming up with a new project, this is a great time to sort of buckle down, but use your creativity. Sort of ask the muse to suggest to you, what should I do with this? What do you think? It's a great day to kind of follow the signs, so to speak, of the universe. I have like a YouTube channel where I just like to collect, it's my little bricolage of just random things that I think are interesting. And so I collect all these different little videos. Some are music, some are science, some are history, some are, I don't know, little clips from movies, right? It's kind of one of these days, okay? You want to do something with this energy because the Mars is in Scorpio. You're going to feel like you want to do something with it. But trining Neptune gives it this dreamy quality and this imaginative, escaping the world quality. So that's why I say it's great to do something creative, or to spend some time with your loved one in a romantic kind of setting where it's just the two of you. There's something very private when you have Scorpio. Scorpio is quite private, and Mars is sexuality, so it's something sacred and private and intimate. This is also a time that we got to be really careful with people doing things that are diluted, and violence on behalf of, it could even be like lovers' quarrels, people who are paranoid or become very jealous and spontaneously do something dangerous to hurt another person. So if you are someone in a situation where you worry about your safety, first of all, you should just get out of that in general. But this is a day in particular where a person who is delusional about their romantic status with another person could be triggered, especially if there's someone who has strong fixed sign or strong mutable sign in their chart. This could be a time where they're a little more triggered to take action in a way that might not be 100% based in reality. It could also be a time when someone gets drunk, and goes and does something very spontaneous and dangerous or painful to another person. So, or rash. Okay, so just keep an eye out for that as well. Okay, hopefully you're just in a cabin somewhere making love in the woods. That's much better use of this this Saturday. Okay, on to Sunday. All right, on Sunday we've got the moon. It moves into Taurus. I like the moon in Taurus, maybe because my Venus is in Virgo, but moon in Taurus is nice. It's a time to just, on a Sunday too, it's a great time to enjoy relaxing, enjoy the five senses. It's kind of like after the holidays, we put all our decorations away. It's a great time to redecorate. You want to get out all your other decorations and redecorate your house. It's a very creative time. It's ruled by Venus. It's also a great time for a good meal, for some wine, for some lovemaking. Clearly, this is like what the weekend's all about. But it is a very Venusian, and it's ruled by Venus, which our Venus is in Sagittarius, which is why I'm saying go out into nature, go enjoy the authentic, genuine, simple pleasures of life. That's very much Venus squares Jupiter, so it's even a little bit of a day of overdoing things. It can be overdoing criticizing, okay? So be careful on Sunday if you've gone on this little trip with someone or you're spending some special time with someone you care about and using words that are meant to help, but they might come off as kind of meddling or overstepping your bounds a bit. So just be gentle with that. The Mars is still trining Neptune, so this is still that cathartic, creative flow, great time, like I said, to escape the world with your lover and to just enjoy being in your little sacred nest together, doing your thing. So, or creating some kind of art, like I said before. If you don't have a partner, that is just fine. There are plenty of wonderful experiences you can have without a partner. Go out in nature, go to a concert, spend some time writing in a journal, Go collect rocks off of I guess that's nature, a trail, whatever, leaves. I don't know, I guess it's snowy here in the Northern Hemisphere if you're, well, not everywhere, but where I live. You know what I'm saying. Go reconnect with nature, do something that's a flow experience. Even sports of some kinds really great on, if it's almost a meditative, yoga would be fantastic, actually on Sunday, although that moon in Taurus might make you too lazy. But anyway, enjoy the day is what I'm saying. Enjoy the fact that you have your five senses, hopefully. I mean, if you've got 4 of them or 3 of them, whatever, enjoy the senses that you have, enjoy your body. And that's about it for this week's forecast. I'm going to wrap it up now so that I can go prep my meals for the week and be a responsible, healthy grown up and get off my 5 pounds of holiday weight. That's what happens when you like cookies like I do. I'm Libra, Venusian, love treats. So, okay, if you have questions, post them for me, and let's keep in touch. If you'd like a reading, of course, contact me, and we'll get you on the schedule and get you read. I've had so much fun meeting all of you guys, truly. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you later this week. Okay, bye-bye.